So rapper Tory Lanez has been sentenced to 10 years in prison for shooting fellow hip-hop star Megan Thee Stallion in 2020.
Alex Spiro, Desiree Perez, and the whole wicked system of Rock Nation, including you, Jay-Z.
Yes.
You who say you rose from the gutter.
Standing on business is standing on business. Jay paid the killers to stand on the witness. CEOs are hating, they banning my business.
It started with a whisper, then a scream, then a full-blown digital wildfire.
That update on rapper Tory Lanez. He was taken to a hospital this morning after being attacked by another inmate at the state prison in Tehachapi. Lanez, whose legal name is Daystar Peterson, serving a 10-year sentence for shooting hip-hop star Megan Thee Stallion.
Tory Lanez, the Canadian rapper who's become both a chart topper and courtroom headline, was reportedly stabbed in jail. Within minutes, the internet did what it does best. It spiraled. But not with your typical prison gossip or fan speculation. No, this time the spotlight shifted to none other than hip-hop royalty, Jay-Z. Let's get this out of the way. No credible source has confirmed that Jay-Z had anything to do with the incident. We're not saying that. But then again, this was never about what's true. This is about what people want to be true.
There's been a lot of explosive evidence being released on the heels of Tory Lanez being assaulted in a California prison.
Social media has gone full of detective mode, digging up decade-old lyrics, dissecting red carpet interviews, replaying courtroom clips, and rehashing every detail of the Megan Thee Stallion shooting saga. Threads are popping up faster than anyone can fact-check them, each more elaborate than the last. From whispers of industry revenge to claims of secret alliances, the internet is stitching together a conspiracy quilt so wild it could rival the best true crime podcast. It's messy, dramatic, and in typical hip-hop fashion, utterly captivating. Fans thinks Jay-Z did it, but let's ask a very important question. Why is Jay-Z even in the conversation?
Standing on business is standing on business. Jay paid the killers to stand on the witness. CEOs are hating, they banning my business.
Rapper Tory Lanez has been charged with shooting artist Megan Thee Stallion during an argument. The DA's office says Lanez, whose legal name is Daystar Peterson, shot Megan's feet during an argument in the Hollywood Hills July 12th.
To really understand how we got here, you have to rewind to the infamous shooting incident that rocked the hip-hop world in 2020. Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion, two artists at the top of their game, were in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. Megan, a cultural force and Grammy-winning rapper, accused Tory of shooting her in the foot after a party in the Hollywood Hills. But this wasn't just a case of celebrity drama, it was a flashpoint. Megan was and still is signed to Rock Nation, the powerful entertainment company founded by none other than Jay-Z. When she came forward, Rock Nation didn't just stand by. They stepped in, offered protection, legal guidance, and a platform for her voice. And from that moment, the story stopped being just about two artists and started to look like a battle between two very different forces in the music industry. When Tory Lanez was ultimately found guilty in 2022, emotions boiled over. But it was what happened outside the courtroom that really lit the match for the current firestorm. Tory's father, Daystar Peterson, a preacher known for his fiery speeches, stood on the courthouse steps and unleashed an angry speech that sent shockwaves through social media. "This is not over," he shouted as cameras rolled and reporters scrambled to catch every word. It has never been about Tory Lanez alone. It has always been about Tory Lanez and the suppression of truth. Rock Nation, you will crumble. That single outburst became a rallying cry for those who already suspected there was more to this story than met the eye. Why Rock Nation? Why Jay-Z? Why did a father, in the wake of his son's conviction, point fingers at a global music empire instead of focusing on the court, the prosecution, or even the alleged victim? The clips spread like wildfire. On Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, anywhere people gathered to dissect celebrity drama, speculation turned into obsession. Was Rock Nation pulling strings behind the scenes? Was this about protecting Megan or silencing Tory? Was Jay-Z's name being dragged into something much darker than music contracts and legal drama? Whatever the truth may be, that moment planted a seed. And now, with Tory reportedly stabbed behind bars, that seed has blossomed into a full-blown digital storm of suspicion, speculation, and shadowy theories. Fast forward to 2024. The noise had quieted at least a little. Tory Lanez was serving a sentence and many assumed the story was over. But then came a twist no one saw coming. Whispers began circulating through legal blogs, hip-hop forums, and YouTube commentary channels. Tory Lanez's legal team was reportedly preparing to drop new evidence, not just hearsay or fan speculation. This was said to include detailed ballistics reports, overlooked forensic data, and the bombshell, a supposed confession from someone close to Megan's inner circle. A confession that, if true, could cast serious doubt on the prosecution's version of events and potentially shift blame away from Tory altogether. Suddenly, what felt like a closed case cracked open, legal analysts began weighing in, calling it significant and potentially case-altering. Hip-hop heads and skeptics of the original trial began sharpening their focus. Reddit threads buzzed. Podcasts teased exclusive scoops. The air was electric with the possibility of a major comeback or a stunning reversal of justice. Then, just as the buzz hit a boiling point, the story took a dark and violent turn. News broke that Tory Lanez had been stabbed in prison. Details were scarce, but the implications were immediate. Questions flying around were, was it a random act of prison violence or was something more sinister at play?
I told all y'all, close to a year ago, well, even prior to, Tory didn't shoot that girl. I told y'all.
Whack 100, the ever-outspoken hip-hop executive and longtime critic of the music industry's behind-the-scenes dealings. Within hours of the news breaking, he posted a blunt and provocative statement. Soon as that boy trying to prove his innocence, suddenly he gets stabbed. You don't think that's connected? And just like that, the internet was on fire again.
Free Tory, bro be home. That which couldn't kill him only made him stronger. Stay tuned.
Mr. Peterson never shot anybody. Never even touched that gun.
Hashtags like #FreeTory, #ProtectTory, and the incendiary #JZD did it began trending across Twitter and TikTok. For many, it no longer seemed like coincidence. It looked like retaliation, silencing, a warning. What made the conspiracy explode even more? Tory Lanez himself. From behind bars, cryptic messages began appearing on his social media accounts, messages that hinted at betrayal, danger, and forces greater than we know, trying to keep the truth buried. Fans speculated these posts were scheduled by his team, perhaps even written by Tory in anticipation of what he feared might happen. Either way, the story had evolved far beyond you'd think that prison walls would silence most men. But Tory Lanez, he's only gotten louder. Locked behind bars, stripped of his freedom, cut off from the world that once echoed his voice. He picked up a pen and pushed play on the only weapon he has left, his music, and then came the first blow. My Shayla isn't just a song, it's a reckoning. A raw, emotional letter scratched into the cold concrete of his cell. A 10-minute confession wrapped in anger, grief, and the stubborn fire of a man who refuses to be forgotten.
I guess taking me from my 7-year-old son wasn't enough for you to breathe.
I guess taking me from my 7-year-old son wasn't enough for you to breathe. That's how Tory opens with heartbreak, with a wound still bleeding. He's not just battling a sentence, he's mourning stolen time, torn family, and the betrayal he feels by a system that moved too fast, too hard. Then, like thunder cracking in a storm, he names names. Yo, Rock Nation coming from a law firm. That's really funny.
Hey, yo. Rock Nation coming from a log road, that's really funny. Even more, they trying to find ways.
Suddenly, the message is no longer personal, it's political. Tory flips the spotlight from his pain to what he calls the real power players, Rock Nation, Jay-Z, and Megan Thee Stallion. He draws lines in the sand, he questions motives, and he doesn't hold back. If I was petty, I would countersue, cause I got evidence Megan C being on payroll to play a dummy. That line alone sent shockwaves across the internet. Fans, critics, and conspiracy theorists lit up the timeline, quoting it, questioning it, wondering what receipts Tory might really be holding. But he doesn't stop there. He turns the camera on his legal battle, calling it a setup, a performance, a trial that never gave him a fair stage. When it was me, I was socially found guilty before they even proved it. My lawyer was playing both sides of my whole case. I ain't find out till I was sitting in the cage. Those bars hit differently, because this isn't a freestyle from a cozy booth. This is a man in a jumpsuit staring at the ceiling of a jail cell, accusing the system of folding him into a story he didn't write. And yet, amid the bitterness, there's a strange kind of clarity, a fighter's resolve. Sentence me to 10 years, I'm here trying to better myself. 4 documentaries while I've been in this hell. Tory isn't just rapping, he's documenting. Turning his time behind bars into a platform, into purpose, into legacy. Across social media, My Shayla exploded. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter flooded with reactions. Some called it brilliant, others called it reckless, but everyone listened. The conversations grew louder. Was Tory unfairly punished? Did Rock Nation pull strings behind the scenes? Is this song a cry for justice or a polished narrative to win public sympathy? The truth only a handful of people really know. The moment Tory Lanez dropped Letter to the Industry, the digital world exploded once again, this time with a fresh wave of conspiracy theories swirling around his stabbing and the deep-rooted tensions within the hip-hop world. Social media users, influencers, and self-proclaimed internet detectives wasted no time connecting dots, whether real or imagined. Threads on Twitter, TikTok videos, Instagram Reels, and YouTube reaction clips all painted a picture far more complex and shadowy than the headlines suggested. The dominant narrative among many was chillingly straightforward. Jay-Z and Rock Nation made sure Tory got stabbed to shut him up. To a growing number of online voices, the stabbing wasn't random violence or prison chaos. It was a calculated warning, a message sent from the highest ranks of the music industry. They're trying to send a message. If you talk, you pay the price. Read one viral tweet that was liked and retweeted thousands of times. The idea that powerful figures could reach into the prison system to silence someone rattled nerves and fueled fears of corruption and manipulation on a scale rarely discussed so openly in hip-hop circles. Others took the theory even further, claiming Tory was about to expose the truth about Megan and now this happens. Coincidence? I don't think so. This line of thinking hinted at a hidden storyline behind the original shooting case, one where secrets, power plays, and reputations were at stake, far beyond the courtroom drama everyone saw. The most viral summation came from a tweet that quickly became the internet's unofficial motto for this unfolding saga. Tory's dad called it, "Jay-Z is playing chess while the rest of us are playing checkers." That simple metaphor captured the feeling of being caught in a game far bigger than any individual player. Fans and critics alike began to see the trial, the stabbing, and the music as pieces on a chessboard controlled by unseen hands, strategizing, maneuvering, and controlling the narrative to protect their interests. As discussions raged on, the lines between fact, opinion, and wild speculation blurred. Memes poking fun at the endless conspiracy theories went viral, but underneath the humor was a very real reflection of the mistrust and intrigue surrounding this saga. In a digital age, where every statement is dissected, every clip replayed, and every silence questioned, the online conspiracy machine is proving to be as relentless as it is creative, turning a legal case and a prison stabbing into a sprawling, multi-layered drama that shows no signs of slowing down anytime soon. For better or worse, this story is no longer just about Tory Lanez or Megan Thee Stallion. It's become a story about power, influence, and how quickly the court of public opinion can turn a whisper into a roar. For months, whispers circulated in legal circles and on social media hinting that Tory Lanez's defense team wasn't ready to throw in the towel. In fact, they were preparing a bombshell, new evidence that, if true, could dramatically rewrite the narrative that has gripped hip-hop, a cop and the courts alike. According to a collection of leaked reports, court filings, and insider leaks that quickly made their rounds on platforms like Twitter and Instagram, and were even picked up by news outlets such as Live Now, Tory's lawyers had several key pieces of evidence lined up to present in an upcoming hearing. First and foremost were new ballistics forensics that challenged the initial findings. This wasn't just a minor technicality. The fresh analysis suggested discrepancies in the trajectory and type of bullets recovered, details that, if accurate, could cast serious doubt on whether Tory was the one who actually pulled the trigger. Next came a statement from Megan Thee Stallion's former bodyguard, a witness whose testimony had not been publicly scrutinized before. Sources say this statement contained observations and claims that contradicted earlier testimonies, raising questions about what really happened that night. There were also witness inconsistencies accounts that didn't quite add up when compared side by side. Discrepancies about timelines, locations, and actions became a focal point for Tory's defense, painting a murkier picture than the prosecution had originally painted.
He informed us he was not under a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement and was free to speak with Unite the People, and that he was doing it because his conscience would not let him not speak and leave a man in prison for something he did not do.
But perhaps the most shocking revelation was a document implying that someone else may have had access to the weapon that caused Megan's injury. This was no small claim. If verified, it would mean the entire foundation of the prosecution's case could be shaken to its core. A well-placed source speaking anonymously to Yahoo News put it bluntly, "This isn't about trying to free a guilty man. It's about making sure the whole story gets heard." It wasn't just about exoneration. It was about justice, transparency, and the pursuit of truth in a case tangled with fame, power, and public opinion. But then, just as the momentum built and anticipation for this evidence's unveiling reached its peak, the unthinkable happened. Tory Lanez was stabbed in prison. Suddenly, the narrative shifted from courtroom drama to prison violence, and questions about who wanted this new evidence suppressed filled every corner of social media. Was this a tragic coincidence, or was it yet another move in a high-stakes game far bigger than the headlines could capture?
A message to Tory Lanez's Instagram account would state he'd been stabbed 14 times. 7 wounds to his back, 4 to his torso, 2 to the back of his head, and 1 to the left side of his face. Both of his lungs collapsed, and he had to be placed on a breathing apparatus.
On April 10, 2024, reports confirmed Tory Lanez had been rushed to the hospital after being stabbed in the prison yard. Eyewitness accounts were scarce. Official statements from prison authorities were limited and vague, only confirming that an incident had occurred but offering little clarity on the circumstances. Eyewitnesses were hesitant to speak publicly, and the tight-lipped environment of a high-security prison only added to the mystery. But the internet, as always, refused to stay silent. But one viral tweet from an insider account at K3Y2TheCity stated, "Tory Lanez stabbed in a high-security area. He was not supposed to be out at that time. Someone let it happen." That single line unleashed a flood of speculation. How does someone get stabbed in a supposedly secure prison yard? And why was Tory out there when he shouldn't have been? The implication was clear. This wasn't just bad luck or random prison violence. It smacked of negligence, or worse, a deliberate act. For many fans and observers, this wasn't just an unfortunate incident. It was a stark, unmistakable warning. A chilling message delivered in the most brutal way possible. In a world where silence often comes at a high cost, this stabbing was interpreted as a ruthless signal to Tory and anyone who might be aligned with him. Keep quiet, stay in line. Across social media platforms, hashtags like #JusticeForTory and #FreeTory surged, but so did darker theories. Some suggested inside players with ties to powerful forces orchestrated the attack to halt the release of new evidence. Others speculated it was a brutal lesson about challenging entrenched power in the music industry. Some conspiracy theorists even connected Tory's situation to other artists who've had legal trouble after clashing with major labels or speaking out. Look at what happened to XXXTentacion, Juice WRLD, Nipsey Hussle, Lycha. One TikTok user said in a now-deleted video, "Every time an artist speaks truth, they get silenced." And Jay-Z, being one of the most powerful figures in music history, naturally becomes the prime suspect in the minds of those who see hidden hands everywhere. Some voices are pushing back. In fact, Vibe magazine published a full report where an insider dismissed Tory's claims as pure fiction. He's grasping at straws. The case was solid. Tory was found guilty by a jury of his peers, and that verdict stands because the evidence presented was compelling and convincing. The report painstakingly examined the so-called new evidence that Tory's legal team was reportedly preparing to release. According to Vibe, much of this material either failed to hold up under scrutiny or did little to undermine the prosecution's case. Ballistics reports, witness statements, and alleged confessions cited by Tory's camp were described as inconclusive or contradictory at best. The article also took aim at the claims of interference by Roc Nation and J.I.Z., labeling them as smoke and mirrors. Just some smokescreen distracting from the core facts of the case. Several insiders argued that the narrative of a powerful entertainment empire manipulating the justice system was more a product of social media hype than reality. A music industry executive quoted in the piece commented, "Conspiracy theories sell clicks and headlines, but the truth is usually less dramatic. Jay-Z and Roc Nation have nothing to do with Tory's legal troubles or the prison stabbing." The Vibe report didn't dismiss Tory's stabbing outright as unrelated, acknowledging that prison violence is a real and dangerous problem, but it cautioned against reading too much into the timing or jumping to conclusions about orchestrated attacks tied to the case. For many readers, the article offered a sensible counterbalance to the frenzied speculation. It reminded the public that despite the entertainment value of conspiracy theories, the legal system's verdict and the facts on record shouldn't be overshadowed by unchecked rumors. Still, the divide remains wide. Supporters of Tory Lanez feel the pushback is just another way the system silences dissenting voices, while skeptics see the Vibe report as a necessary reality check. Son star Peterson has not been silent. He posted another video recently, again naming Jay-Z and calling out the music industry for what he claims is the suppression of truth. "My son is in danger because he wouldn't bow down. The machine is bigger than you think." That clip circulated fast, and it reignited everything all over again. We can't say that, but the internet sure can, and it has. With Tory's music from jail throwing direct shots, his father's emotional outburst, outbursts, the suspicious timing of the stabbing, and now the mysterious evidence surfacing. It's no wonder people are pointing fingers. The truth may be far more complicated, or maybe it's hiding in plain sight. But in the court of public opinion, one thing's already decided. Too many people think Jay-Z is behind it.